Tonight, I wave a wagon over a glass, a Triumph sailboat goes round the track, and I unfold a piece of paper. Hello, and welcome back aboard the night train where I have received a letter. It says, "Dear so-called night train, I've been watching your channel for the last year and it is a pale imitation of other model railway channels on YouTube. Your layout progress is woefully slow, and your reviews are not of products on the day they release, focusing on cheap tat like the Dapol chocolate wagons. Don't bother uploading if you're not making the best exhibition layout ever, or showing us a new model in a spicy way that satisfies the YouTube algorithm. Yours sincerely, Sir Weddell Grizzly, CBE, OBE, CME." Now, I take viewer comments and letters very seriously, so I scoured my pre-order list and thankfully something arrived that I think is going to hit that spicy review sweet spot. After saying goodbye to the iconic trio of Clarkson, Hammond and May earlier this year, many wondered exactly what each of the presenters would do next in their individual careers. While James May's love for model railways is well documented, I wasn't expecting him to turn his attention to the model railway market quite so quickly. Captain Slow himself releasing a gin-inspired limited edition tanker with Dapol, exclusively for Rails of Sheffield, was not on my 2024 bingo card. Still, it piqued my interests, and to support Mr. May in his post-motoring show career, I picked one up before both announced batches sold out. James himself acknowledges the crossover between railway and gin enthusiasts is so small that it's anything but an untapped market, but it's certainly an interesting way to promote his gin endeavours. I'm not a drinker, but I do like a good private wagon. This tanker comes in the standard Dapol packaging and uses their existing 6-wheel tanker tooling with a bespoke James Gin livery applied. I have a wagon in this tooling already, which cost me £11 brand new in the past, but this limited edition one, available only through Rails of Sheffield, set me back £24.95, a lot for a well-established tooling. There was probably all kinds of legal branding nonsense and livery design costs that bumped the price up here, but production costs should have still been minimal as this was designed and manufactured in the UK. First and foremost, this does not have the one key feature that would explain the higher price. There is no spice-infused gin in this tanker. What it does have though is a sweet exterior. There is an intricate, rich blue livery overlaid with decals of black, white and beige. The decals themselves are of a much higher quality than on the budget £11 Dapol box vans I reviewed recently, right down to the number and locations printed further down the round tank body. That's what the listing promised, and it has delivered. While the main blue decoration is quite matte in its finish, the decals have a glossy sheen to them, helping them really stand out, even though it's not wholly realistic. What can be seen through the decoration is the whole plastic build of this wagon, and it's the underframe that suffers the most from this, having a little bit of a glossy, plasticky sheen to it. There is, however, a plethora of moulded chassis detailing, bulking out the complexity of the underframe. There are separately fitted details though, such as the rod framing, ladders, and the platform and cap atop the tank. The end of the tank frames are moulded, as are the buffers and tank taps, but one of the supports has a slight warp to it. More egregious in the quality department is a poor fit between the tank end and the rest of the tank body, where a large gap can be seen. The gluing here is not flush, and if this occurred in real life, precious gin would be lost by the gallon. Despite Dapol's renewed coupling mounts, one still suffers from a mild droop. Hopefully this doesn't hinder the coupling's ability. Underneath there is some undercarriage detail, but not much. Predominantly just the moulded brake housings on each of the wheels, which are a nice touch, but if not done properly, they can rub against the wheels and cause drag. The axles and wheels are both metal and now manufactured in-house by Dapol. On the scales, the wagon comes in at 37 grams, about on par with the Rapido LNWR box van, a premium wagon. The back-to-back wheel gauges come in at 14.5mm on all the axles, which is consistent and on the 00 gauge standard. Overall, this is a nice, gin-inspired livery. On Dapol's staple 6-wheeled tank wagon, but there are some minor, hapless quality issues. Hopefully there's no more of these hiding in the wagon's performance. Slow is the word to describe this wagon's performance on the track. It is the poorest free roller that I've come across thus far. Any momentum my pushers gave it just vanished, until I pushed so hard it derailed. There is a minor rocking in the wagon, as if the middle wheel set pushes the rest of the chassis up too much so that the end wheels don't sit flush on the track. To diagnose the issue, I swapped the middle and the end wheel sets around to determine if it was a warped chassis or a bodged wheel set causing the problems. The end wheel set span freely in the middle slots, so everything pointed towards one of the wheel sets, the one originally in the middle, not being manufactured up to scratch. Testing the wagon with the swapped wheels, there was a minor improvement, but it still wasn't great. The rocking remained, indicating Dapol still have some way to go to perfect consistency and quality in their wheelset manufacturing process. Next up was the coupling test, with the wagon pinned between my new custom Rapido wagon and an older Dapol box van. At the head of the train, rather indignantly, we have the Flying Scotsman, the shame of it. Despite a drooping coupling, everything's coupled up fine. The wagon ran over my Pico Code 100 streamline points without any issues, despite the sticky wheels. The baseboard join test went fine, both in reverse and forward motion. Time for May's wagon to do a inaugural lap of the layout. Scotsman's off, and the wagon manages the curved ball join despite its dodgy wheels. It passes along the third baseboard and onto the fourth, completing the circuit. So what we have here then is a well-dressed wagon mottled with imperfections below the surface. It runs fine in a train, but is stiff on its own, as if it's had one too many of its own G&Ts. Perhaps mine is just a dodgy example, as James has his own wagon which on video runs perfectly fine. Rather annoyingly though, this wagon doesn't strike me as dodgy enough to seek a replacement. It went around the layout perfectly. Perhaps I'll make do and mend, much like James often does, by swapping the wheels out for some that are far more free-rolling. Rapido's persistent use of bearings on all their wagons can now wallow in some vindication. On to my final verdict. Decoration. This is intricate and exquisite as promised. Finely applied with nice crisp decals of various sizes and colours, minor plasticky finish on the chassis aside, we get top tier decoration from Dapol on this one. First happiness point awarded. Details and features. The model is a standard Dapol tooling, complete with a lot of moulded chassis detailing, but also some separately fitted framing, ladders and tank top details. Delivery is the biggest bespoke feature, but I've already praised that. The metal wheels and axles were hyped up in the listing, but we'll get back to those. As far as details and features go, they are basic but appropriate with nothing to complain about. I'm happy with how they came. Quality. This is by far the biggest letdown on this wagon. From the tank end not being flush with the body to the warped end framing, by far the biggest offender is the dodgy set of wheels that manage to impede the free rolling performance. As a more premium wagon release of the Dapol 6-wheel tanker, and a limited edition one at that, I expected Dapol to have perfected decent production of their wheel sets by now. The wagon is also wholly plastic, besides the wheels and frame rodding. Some metal buffers and one or two other quality touches would have been nice. Collating all of the issues together, this one misses the mark on delivering a quality wagon. Things are wrong that should have been picked up in quality control and on production samples. I shouldn't be contemplating replacing the wheels, but here we are. As a result, I'm marking the quality down. Performance. Despite the glaring failure of the free rolling performance, the wagon proved perfectly functional in all other departments. Even a mildly drooping coupling performed as expected. As the wheel issue is down to inconsistent production and quality control, I'll chalk that up as dealt with. The rest of the performance was not compromised, which I'm glad to see. I'll give it the tick for performance here. And finally, onto price. Had the quality on this wagon been perfect, with no warping, poor joins and free wheel sets, I'd have said it's a lovely, unique wagon straddling the middle of the market. Not a top tier release, but also not worthy of being lumped in with those housed in the budget wagon range. But my example is not up to scratch, with issues that could have easily been avoided. As such, the letdown in quality compromises the value. These are sold out now, so I'm glad I've got one, but I'd rather have liked a better wagon example than the one I got. So I'll deduct the price point here, as the wagon could have been great for the money, but this example missed the mark. On the whole, that's a total score of 3 out of 5, making this a wagon I can recommend but with caveats. If you've placed a pre-order for one of these in the second batch of releases, be sure to have a close look over it for any issues, and definitely test its wheels on the track before doing anything more with it.
I went on the internet this week, and I found this. It is just pure pornography.
Yeah.
I also found this. Look at it.
It's Phil, look at it.
So what do you think of the James Gin wagon? If you picked one up, how are the wheels on your example? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you all in another video very shortly. Take care.